Welcome to my class. Continuing on with Unit 2, we are doing organization of data. We introduced what is classification, what is a good classification, what are the objectives, and all of that in our previous classes. And in this, we are going to talk about variables and attributes. So, what is, after all, a variable? Because whatever we're going to study, whichever now, whatever, you are going to talk about variables, you're going to talk about frequencies and all of that, and attributes. So, just have a look. What is it, after all? So, talking about, there's something like, for example, any classification we do, we are talking about variables and attributes. So what is a variable? A thing which is capable of being measured numerically and changes its value over time is called a variable. For it can be profits, it can be prices of commodities, it can be incomes or marks, heights of individuals, whatever. It may be noted that different variables are measured in different units. That also you must take into account. For example, age is measured in years, height is measured in inches or centimeters, weight in kilograms, income in rupees, and so on. The variable thus implies a characteristic of an item which can be expressed in numerical terms. So that is what is known as a variable. Now, what is an attribute? So we've talked about even attributes. So what is an attribute? Say the looks of the people, their intelligence, their beauty, intelligence, aptitude for art and music also change from one individual to the other. They cannot be measured numerically in the same way as one can measure the heights and weights or prices or income. Therefore, they are not called variables in the statistical sense. They are called attributes. And we may rank individuals according to the quality of attributes. The ranks are sometimes used as the numerical values for the purpose of analysis, and then these may be called what is known as qualitative data. So once again, just to revise, what is an attribute? It implies the qualitative character of a thing that cannot be numerically expressed, but we can give them ranks, etc., and some numerical value that way for the purpose of analysis. And what is a variable? Variable is a thing which is capable of being measured numerically and changes its value over time. It's called a variable. Okay. So another thing, just remember, variable implies a characteristic of an item which can be expressed in numerical terms. And then you've seen that I've put it as a numeric variables can be studied, or they are of two types, say discrete variables and continuous variables. Okay, so just have a look. So when we are talking, just in short, for you to immediately understand, not even to go into too much of detail, discrete variables are those which increase in complete numbers. Okay, so that means, just remember, they are complete numbers. So they change in complete numbers. So what is a continuous variable? They are complete numbers as well as fractions. They can be expressed as fractions. So variables that assume a range of values or increase not in jumps, not from one to the other, but continuously or in fractions are called continuous variables. Okay, for example, you can easily, in continuous variables, you can express the heights of the boys or the children, students, as 5 feet 1 inch, 5 feet 2 inches, 5 feet 3 inches, and so on. Okay, so that is basically what it is. To go further, we can just once more tell you what is a discrete variable again. What is a discrete variable? Discrete variables refer to those variables which are exact or finite. They are whole numbers and they are not expressed in fractions. The value changes only by finite jumps. It jumps from one value to another but does not take any intermediate value between them. No quarters, no halves, nothing. Straight away. For example, now let's take an example. A variable like the number of students in a class for different classes would assume values that are only whole numbers. It cannot take any fractional value like 0.5 because they cannot be half of a student. Therefore, it cannot take a value like 10.5 between 11 and 12. But we should not have the impression that a discrete variable cannot take any fractional value. Okay, we will not go into it because here we're just going to talk about, just to understand the basic, just remember that it is a complete number. Okay. And later on you'll come to know that even if you want to take a fraction, then you will jump from one fraction to another. It will be like 4.5 to 5.5 and all that stuff. But that's later. But right now just remember, there are those variables which are exact or finite. Now let's come to continuous. Now what is continuous variable? The variable which can take any value, integral of fractional, within its range of variations are called continuous variables. So this variable is a continuous variable. We call it if it is capable of passing from any given value to the next value by infinitely small gradations also, even by points. Okay, so that's what it is. So I hope you've understood the difference between an attribute, variables, and what are the different variables and all of that. And once you know about the variables, we'll come to what is known as the raw data.